course, have Afghanistan, and we have a very, very strange reaction to a truck crash. We'll be right back right after this. Remember, nothing in the show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of myself, Dex, or anyone else on the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. All right, guys, it is Adam, a.k.a. Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. We have a lot to cover in a short amount of time, so if you're new here, just remember that we try to back up everything we say with a source on our website. In fact, we have a bibliography. It's very easy to navigate. Just look for today's thumbnail, and of course, it will be the, for today, it will be the top left. You'll see crash. Why is this response happening? And then click on that, and it will actually bring you to every single tweet, video, article that we show you, you will actually have access to. We are truly independent. We do not have a multi-channel network or even a multi-billion-dollar company behind us. So again, if you want to support us, you can. If not, please like and subscribe if you find us valuable. Let's bring in my co-host / internet brother, Dex. What is going on, Dex, and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine.
So we'll get right into it. Of course, Ida is huge right now. It's covering the news. It's kind of funny to me because it's all that people are talking about now, even though, like I said, basically people are going to be as mad as they're told to be, or they'll be mad as long as they're told to be mad about something. Of course, a lot of us have not forgot about the last few weeks of events, and we're probably never going to forget. In fact, I think that we'll be roughly reminded here soon. Just want to remind people, too, we're actually just about 12 days or 11 days away from the anniversary of the worst day in American history, September of 2001. And we just basically armed the Taliban with 75,000 vehicles, 200 planes, $85 billion worth of gear, and we still have not destroyed any of it. We haven't got any of it back. We have basically armed we've armed the enemy. So just keep that in mind. I would say every night from here till then, I'll say, hey, keep your heads on a swivel and keep your eyes open. Obviously, there is a lot going on right now. If you are asleep to that, then I don't know what to say. Louisiana nuclear power plant declares unusual event after Hurricane Mississippi's Grand Gulf fully operational. Essentially, what is happening, it says the Nuclear Regulatory Commission says a nuclear-powered plant 25 miles west of New Orleans has declared a, quote, unusual event, its lowest level of emergency after the facility lost off-site electrical power. It says the Waterford nuclear plant in Kelowna, Louisiana, had to shut down protectively on Saturday in anticipation of Hurricane Ida. The plant was maintained safe shutdown conditions with power from emergency diesel generators, the nuclear agency said. So just to sum that up, the Waterford nuclear plant is now running to keep it cool, which, again, if it doesn't keep cool, it can cause a disaster like, say, Chernobyl, by diesel generators. Dex, do you think that they have like generators on top of generators? So if the diesel fails, do you think they have like a plan C? Or what happens if the diesel generators fail?
Wow, I hope they do. The irony is that they generate electricity from the plant. I know they shut the plant down, but they're running at 35%. So I don't know if that's 35% power that they're generating or 35% power that they would normally consume. But it seems like if they're making power, wouldn't they just use the power they're making to keep things running? But since they're not, and they're now not relying on the power grid that was bringing power to them from everywhere else, because that's down, then they're stuck to generators, and they're just going to last as long as they have fuel, right?
Yeah, it's kind of funny that like you wonder like what powers a power plant? Does the power plant power itself? Does it have like a big loop? But obviously they have power for the machinery to run the thing that actually creates power. And that may come from somewhere else. In this case, right now, they're on backup diesel generators. One thought, though, is just what if those diesel generators went down? I mean, you're now depending on a diesel generator. If anyone has had any kind of generator, no matter how high quality it is, they have issues. They sometimes break down. So I'm assuming they must have multiple, and then have backups. I don't know. But that is freaky. Of course, everybody is shocked and been watching every piece of the news on Ida, and it's just like everybody forgets about everything else when a big storm like this hits. This is, they say, the 5th largest storm that has hit the United States. It says that intensifying Cat 4 Hurricane Ida that hit Louisiana on Sunday, of course, now has hit. It says that Ida rapidly grew in strength early Sunday, becoming a dangerous Category 4 hurricane just hours before hitting the Louisiana coast, while emergency officials in the region grappled with opening shelters for displaced evacuees, despite the risks of spreading the sea. Right? Notice how they throw that
funny. This
anywhere.
was 1 mile per hour off becoming a Cat 5. That's how close it was.
Yeah, isn't that nuts? So it literally, if it was 1 mile faster, it would have actually been bumped up. This is one of the worst storms we've seen. I know that I've gotten a lot of emails saying that it's perfect timing for something like this, right? People may think that that's a crazy thing to think of, like, that maybe the timing could have been altered on this. That is a crazy thought, but again, when you look at the actual technology that we possess and other countries possess, it doesn't seem as crazy, right? But anyways, Ida is a horrible example of a huge storm that actually did get big. Remember, before the storm, I basically said, it's the ones that they don't talk about that always get big, and the ones that they do pump up usually end up being, smaller. In this case, that was wrong. They did pump this one up, and it was a very, very, very large storm. So I'm praying for all of you in Louisiana and everybody that is in the hardest hit areas. A lot of people couldn't afford to get out. We have heard this. We've had several Foogle fam members that were in the area, and they said that they could not leave because they didn't have money to go anywhere. The shelters are overrun. So say if you're just totally broke and you're barely getting by, what are you supposed to do? Fill up your tank when you don't have money to fill up your tank? Where are you supposed to go? Are you supposed to go stay in a hotel you can't afford? Are you supposed to...
Some of them wouldn't let you in if you didn't have a certain medical thing.
Yep, you didn't. Yes, that's right. So because they were all traveling and kind of, refugees temporarily, right? They're all moving somewhere else. There was places that were actually turning them down. So I think this is just insanity in a box. There are, of course, updates. It says Ida now a tropical storm. Now it of course went down. It was downgraded. It says a weakened but still powerful tropical storm Ida was over southwestern Mississippi early Monday after trudging north through Louisiana. Ida crashed into land as an extremely dangerous Category 4 hurricane Sunday. It was pummeling parts of the two states with heavy rain. A dangerous storm surge, damaging winds, and flash flooding, the National Hurricane Center said. It says more than 1 million homes and businesses were hit with power outages in Louisiana, according to poweroutage.us. The entire city of New Orleans was in the dark. There was actually videos of the lights all going off. There was a video of the French Quarter of like Bourbon Street, and you see kind of all the buildings. It was a camera on top of all of the buildings looking out at the city over these buildings. And you actually see the moment where the lights all just turned off as somebody was driving down the street. Can you imagine? And what do you guys think? If you were driving down that street and then all of the power just went off, would that not be freaky or what? Speaking of the Foogle fam, thank you everybody that has already popped in. Judy Wilkinson, we've got Bronco 95, Tony Draper, Luz Peril, Brandon Lopez is here, Lisa from Louisiana, obviously, says still in the dark. So Lisa is in the dark right now. One of our Foogle fam is actually in Louisiana right now. And then Dark Truth, Angela Schnelly, Blowtorch Barbie says that's scary. Carolina Roots, what is going on? Kelly2334, nice to see you here today. And then, freaking crazy, says Sita, Crisis Answer, bound by mountains, rockin' forever, North Carolina bound. Oh man, there's so many crazy, crazy things going on at the same time. People are being distracted, though. That's my personal opinion. As far as, besides this, there are other things that are surfacing, and it's easy to look at kind of what's on the front burner rather than look at what's on the back burner. Let me turn this off real quick. And then, of course, let's see here. So it says, Dex, where did so New Orleans 911 is down. Is that correct, Dex?
Yeah, that is correct. And matter of fact, the main line of power to all of New Orleans is down from the bridge area.
So even if you do have so for those who have stayed, 911 is no longer working, or was at the time of getting this. So basically, if you had a heart attack, if you had an asthma attack, or if you had a blood clot, or whatever you have, you're basically on your own unless you can get yourself somewhere. A lot of places, even the hospitals, are having their roofs ripped off in these areas. So they are really, really screwed right now. This is why what is really amazing, and I will, Dex, can you possibly get me the link to the tweet I just put out about an hour and a half ago, or maybe an hour ago, of the people basically coming from every direction to go help Louisiana. There's pictures in that tweet thread that are just absolutely amazing. People are taking boats, people are taking trucks, people are driving, people are boating. People from all over the country are basically swarming into Louisiana to help those people. Those are other Americans helping America. I actually tweeted it to Donald Glover, the guy who did the song "This Is America," because that is America. That's the people that drop everything at the drop of a dime and end up going and helping people. That is what it should be. That's people getting, people helping people. That's what I think it should be, anyways.
It's in there.
I just so much love in a lot of those pictures. You can just tell that people are dropping everything to go help. So let me show you what I'm talking about. This is really, really cool. All right, let's see. If you do want to help, Dex, can we find a website to put on our website to think, basically a website that would show where people could go volunteer?
Yeah, we'll link up the Cajun Navy.
Okay.
That's the big one.
It says the Cajun Navy is volunteerism at its finest. And look at this. So people are coming from all directions. Every single direction there are people coming from. And they're heading right basically towards the disaster instead of away. There are people coming with boats from everywhere. I mean, this is really insane. Look at this. Everybody is coming with medical supplies, with food, with everything. People are on their roofs. I mean, this is really bad. After it came through, most of the places where it's already come through, they're stuck there with no power, no nothing. So, again, this is, I just wish, I can see virtual little American flags on all these boats. This is what it should be. And what's sad is it takes disasters for a lot of us to come together. I think that it would be an amazing sight to see people do this when it's not like this, that everybody, took just a small percentage and went out and helped. Just people in general, besides where the disasters are. And then, of course, Hurricane Ida traps Louisianans, shatters the power grid. Rescuers in boats, helicopter, high water trucks brought hundreds of people trapped by Hurricane Ida's floodwaters. It says to safety on Monday, and utility crews rushed in after the furious storm swamped the Louisiana coast and ravaged the electrical grid in the sifting late summer heat. It says residents living amid the maze of rivers and bayous along the state's Gulf Coast retreated desperately to their attics and roofs and posted their addresses on social media with instructions for search and rescue teams on where to find them. More than 1 million homes and businesses in Louisiana, in Mississippi, including all of the New Orleans, were left without power as Ida, one of the most powerful hurricanes ever to hit the U.S. mainland, pushed through on Sunday. The damage was so extensive that officials warned it could be weeks before the power grid is repaired. We're not talking about a couple downed lines. We're talking about the entire infrastructure is down around there. What is even crazier is that the levees did hold up. So you didn't have the massive flooding as you did in, of course, Hurricane Katrina. And I'm very surprised by that. I'm actually not confused because it did hit a little bit farther up. But if that was a little bit farther down, I'm sure this would have actually went over the bayous, or I'm sorry, over the freaking over the levees. It says, as the storm was downgraded to a tropical depression Monday afternoon and continued to make its way inland with torrential rain, it was blamed for at least 2 deaths, a motorist who drowned in New Orleans and a person hit by a falling tree outside of Baton Rouge, or Baton Rouge. Baton Rouge, that's how we say it in Seattle. And then, of course, Ida knocks out power to New Orleans as it's downgraded. And then we have Cantrell urges people to remain sheltered, implementing anti-looting protocols in the darkened city. It says New Orleans Mayor LaToya Cantrell urged residents not to venture out to survey the damage left behind Ida until Monday morning. So, Dex, do you think that a lot of people are going to listen to that, or do you think that they're going to end up swooping in and stealing whatever they can?
Well, I think they're estimating this to be weeks, like 3 weeks without power. I mean, it's a pretty long time, so I think a lot of craziness can happen during that time.
Yeah, so a lot of people are going to be in a really bad position. I would expect that at least the grocery stores are going to end up being cleaned out of any kind of food if that happens. I mean, we're talking about this is a real disaster. This is the kind of disaster that I hope that you in Louisiana prepared for, because people like our channel were telling you to. Even just a little bit every single week can help you in a situation like this. You don't have to live a place where there's hurricanes every couple of years to have a disaster like this happen. Almost everywhere has a geographical kind of locked disaster that can happen. Other than that, you can just have a really bad storm and lose power and be stuck without it for days, if not weeks. So again, I hope that everybody is safe there, and I hope that there is no that number of deaths does not go up. Andrea Ellison, thank you for your support tonight. Lola Cafe, again, thank you, and thank you. Total Vagabonds, thank you from Europe. I appreciate your support there via Super Chat. And then over on D-Live, I really appreciate you. Dano Houston says, praying for our troops. Let them know that they are highly valued by us civilians. I of course will. Tribulation Force, thank you so much for the Ninja Genie over there. Kelly2334, Maui Racing Realtor, Chewy Weather is here. Lisa K23 and Meat Puppet 007 says all that food will spoil. Well, that's the thing. I mean, again, if they were just going to throw it out, I hope that people get that food, whatever food is in there, if it's still not destroyed by the storm. Speaking about preparing, I hope that all of you end up going over and checking out EMP Shield. If you want to protect yourself against an actual EMP or a CME, again, the CME is the natural kind that we are overdue for. It happens about every 100 years. A CME will basically wreak havoc on our power grid and any other devices if it's big enough. So will an EMP, a man-made EMP. You can actually protect your devices, your home, your car, your motorcycles, your generators, even your solar system with an EMP shield. Go to marfooglenews.com/EMP for more information. Again, this is 100% American-made, veteran-owned business. You can also protect yourself against lightning, especially with homes and things like this. It's great protection for that as well. Again, that's EMP Shield at marfooglenews.com/EMP. Somebody actually asked me a question if that would help with EMF fields or EMFs or radiation from phones and things like that. You definitely want to look into, if you are worried about your phone radiation, 1, use your phone less. 2, don't sleep with it by you. 3, try to use Bluetooth headsets if you can. Putting a phone to your ear constantly or constantly having it in your hands. I believe that we will end up seeing in the long term that people will end up getting things, end up getting cancers and things by where they hold their phone. It's pretty freaky. There's a lot of stuff out there. There's a lot of studies out there that are coming out more and more as time goes by. But if you want to protect yourself against that, I highly recommend possibly looking at our website for the eDeck bag to put your phone in. The only downside is when you put your phone in a bag like that, it won't get signal. But it also won't put off signal, and it won't let people know where you are, and it will protect you against whatever is coming off of it. As far as protecting ourselves from radiation from the new generation of stuff, there's not much you can do. I wonder if any company is ever going to start making clothes that protect you from phone radiation, which again nobody talks about because of course I think a lot of people have been paid off to not talk about it. Also, many people are under a boil water advisory. The problem, no power, so people don't know, says Christy. Great point. I'm glad you actually pointed that out. Mowilicious says hand cancer. I didn't know if that existed, but I would assume if you're holding your phone all the time that would happen. Or maybe some other, some other disease that could go through. And people use their VR headsets. Yes, that's true. With their phone like that. That's pretty dumb, actually. I typed another field. What is going on? Says Maui Racing Realtor. Catherine McCandless says, if you live in a flood-prone area, I would use food saver bags to seal my food. Waterproof. That's a great idea. Let's see here. Truth Hurts TV says, Marfoogle, can you talk about the work of Zachary K. Hubbard? Gematria Effect News on YouTube. We've mentioned him because callers have called in about him. But again, I'm not familiar with his work. Throw your phone out the window, says MB. Connie Easley says, Army helicopters went over earlier today. I think that they're going all over the place. So another tweet that I will show you later actually shows a military member basically in a truck showing a deployment, showing everybody out getting deployed, and he keeps saying, it's not happening. He goes, it's not happening. It's not happening. And he's sarcastically saying, yep, it's not happening. It's not happening, is it? Looks at his buddy. He goes, it's not happening. And then he talks about his fun meter, and he's like, we're going to turn this down. Turn my fun meter down, and he flips his fun meter patch upside down. Basically, he was implying that he's getting deployed. And I don't know what it's not happening is referencing to, but once you see it, you'll understand. He's basically showing that they're getting deployed right now, and it is happening. That's what I picked up from it. Again, go to my Twitter, @Marfoogle, and follow and actually watch that video, and you'll see what I mean. Dex, do you want to talk about the unprecedented New York City subway breakdown that was sparked by a power surge?
Well, yeah, so this is kind of interesting. And as we move from one power topic to another, we are now talking about the subway in New York that's actually, having some sort of disruption based on a power surge, which is kind of an interesting event if you think about it. Like, what could be causing that surge? I'm sure they'll give us a excuse publicly, but we know that we've seen types of things like this happen in the power grids and cause other havoc with other things, and there's no question as to what some of the possibilities could be. I'm certainly going to be looking to see what may be coming up from a cyber event, if they'll ever actually admit or say anything like that. I know they haven't in the past when it comes to New York.
Now, remember, so every year that September rolls around, there's, of course, the 11th day of September, which has had an anniversary. And definitely on the second year, the 5th year, the 10th year, everybody was kind of, on the edge those days, because I think that it was in the back of all of our heads when that day rolls around almost every year. And in fact, let me ask you this. Let's go over to the audience. On the 11th day of September, have you guys thought about that almost every year? I just want to get a general consensus. I'll put the chat on screen. Have you thought about something possibly happening almost every year for 20 years? Yes or no? And again, you can say no. You don't have to go along with what everybody else is saying. Have you considered it in your head that at any anniversary that something could have happened? I mean, I understand that this is kind of an easy question because most people are going to say yes. There was one or two nopes there. But again, this is something that a lot of us think about. This is number 20. But not only is it 20, and again, somebody mentioned gematria. If you do follow gematria stuff, I have seen quite a bit of videos about why the 20th anniversary is so special and why it works into the original gematria of like why they did it on that day, everything that else that worked into it. It's freaky if you go, into that deep. But as just plain day common sense, it's been 20 years, and now the Taliban has been armed with 70,000 vehicles, 600,000 small arms, night vision goggles. You're talking about Blackhawks, which again we're going to show you here in a minute. We showed you a video about a week and a half ago of them taxiing around the kind of airport, and we're like, they can't fly. Well, now they are. They're training, and they're training hardcore with these Blackhawks, and they're training pilots to get them up in the air. What do you think they're going to do with them? Do you think that they're just going to fly around Afghanistan? I don't know. They also have boats. They have, again, 75,000 vehicles. What do you think that they're going to do with all that gear? And they got all of that gear right before the anniversary of the worst day in history, right? So we don't know how many in the Taliban are actual, they're best friends with the Qaeda. So what do you think? It's pretty stupid. I mean, like, we can say all day, like everybody in the world has been basically saying this administration has done this, and that. Honestly, I don't care who did it or who's behind it. I just see what is happening next. Something bad is on the horizon. Do you think that as well? I would love to hear your opinion on that. Tell me down in the comments below. Delaware Sasquatch says, YouTube won't let me super chat you. I apologize. That sucks again. Sorry that YouTube is having problems. I think that you're not the only one. Mill.782, thank you for following. I appreciate that. Tribulation Force, God bless you all. Kelly2334, I appreciate you. Lisa K23, again, thank you. Telefona Kabalusu, thank you for following just now. And then Angela Schnelly, I appreciate that. That very well could be because of our subject matter, and they possibly could have already dinked the video. April Sheldon, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. It looks like, again, thank you for the support there. Looks like you did two to back. If you didn't mean to do one of those, you can always, I think there's a button you can push to undo it. Andrea Ellison, thank you again. Thank you for your support. Thank you, everybody that has supported our little independent channel here. Again, we have average 50,000 viewers per day. That's daytime CNN ratings. That is pretty insane. So thank you, everybody that has stuck with me. I am actually not... I had this weird stomach thing last week, and now I'm having this weird lung thing. So I'm just not able to keep breath. I don't know if you guys can tell that. But I can't... normally I'm a little bit better at reading, so I apologize. Lake Tahoe threatened by massive fire. More ordered to flee. It says fire officials ordered more evacuations near Lake Tahoe and told other residents to be ready to leave as a destructive fire roared through forests of southwest of the Alpine Lake that straddles the California-Nevada state line. Several communities south of the lake were abruptly ordered to evacuate Sunday afternoon after residents on the southern and southwestern shores of the lake were warned to be ready to evacuate if ordered. The community of Mayors, south of a small tourist city of South Lake Tahoe, was among those evacuated. Many people had apparently left earlier, likely because of the terrible smoke that it has created horrendous air quality, said fire spokesman Keith Wade, who said he watched people leave. The fire destroyed multiple residences Sunday along Highway 50 and one of the main routes to the north and the south of the end of the lake. The fire also roared through Sierra at Tahoe Ski Resort, destroying secondary buildings but leaving the main buildings at the base intact. It says, today's been a rough day and there's no bones about it. It ends up saying that forest supervisor of El Dorado National Forest said Sunday evening, a few days ago, he had thought that crews could halt the Caldor's fire eastern progress, but, quote, today it let loose. So praying for everybody that's in that area that they don't get this fire destroying their property or their lives. I know that these fires can be unpredictable, so I'm hoping that that doesn't happen. And then we have the shocking moment that the Taliban militants storm Kabul TV station to demand anchor praise Afghan terror group. Dex, do you think that the Taliban are great guys and everything? Do you find them much different from any of these other groups, right?
Just the same with a different name, right? There's nothing about this group, and you'll see as we talk more about this, and even some of the stuff we can't talk about that's on web only content. Yeah, this is not the the new friends on the block, so to speak. This is the same old situation, just with new power and new toys, obviously.
Yeah, they got tons and tons and tons of equipment, and we armed them right before their favorite day. Let's see here. It says the video was recorded at the Afghan TV network Peace Studio and comes just weeks after the United States abruptly withdrew from Afghanistan, allowing the Taliban to regain power. Nearly 20 years after the U.S. came into the country in the wake of September of 2001. It says BBC Yalda Hakim tweeted a video clip of the news report on Sunday afternoon and wrote, Afghanistan TV, surreal. This is what political debate now looks like on Afghan TV. Taliban foot soldiers watching over the host. The presenter, of course, talks about the collapse of the Ghani government and says that the Islamic Emirate says that the Afghan people should not be afraid. During the 42-second clip, it seemed as if the news presenter was stared down by the two militants standing on each side of him. So, just a reminder, they ended up getting all of the biometric data, the fingerprints, basically every piece of information from name, list, everything on every single Afghan and American that helped them. We actually handed that over. How do people not smell something fishy when you do that? What was their actual reasoning? Dex, do you remember what their actual reasoning of why they handed it over? Were they saying like, hey, let these people through? Is that actually what they said that they were doing?
Nah, I don't know if there was an actual reason other than it was left behind in the embassy and we didn't destroy it or take it with us. So therefore it was there and wherever else it may have been stored. And since it wasn't destroyed, then when they roll in, they have access to it.
No, I'm pretty sure they actually gave something. So hold on. Handed.
Oh, we know that they gave them intel. We know that they shared intel with them. We also know that they handed them a list of American names that they wanted, or insinuated that they wanted to have free passage. But
because remember we covered a story before, and it was very specifically. Was it the CIA? Yes. So. Look at this. So not only, so they found that equipment that had all the biometric stuff. It was kind of the database. They found that equipment, but they also gave them a physical list. It says U.S. reportedly gave the Taliban the names of American and Afghan allies. Appalling and shocks. This is what I'm talking about. This isn't like they found our file cabinet with all of our files and stuff. They actually gave the Americans names and the Afghan allies. I mean, it doesn't take a genius to say this looks super fishy. Like really, really bad. Dex, I heard you try to chime in there. Sorry.
No, I didn't. But, the other thing that comes to mind is we heard about door-to-door things that were going on in the early days of this. And even in the most recent days. But now that things have changed dramatically today, we're even hearing new stories of door-to-door and what they're doing, obviously using that data and looking for certain people.
And then it actually says the Taliban militants reportedly stormed the TV station and urged the anchor to talk with them. As U.S. officials said, a suicide squad was on its way to carry out a second attack on Kabul airport, was wiped out in a drone strike. So, wait a second. So, okay. So as they didn't wipe out the TV station though, right? They wiped out the supposed.
We supposedly hit
10
car
people,
or something
right?
that was supposed to do it. Yeah, and then apparently there's a lot of children were affected by that too. So
I thought we had a. Okay, maybe it's part of one of these. Hold on.
We'll cover part of it.
Yeah, right here. So, we're almost there. Pentagon says threat to Kabul airport remains real and specific as evacuations wrap up. Okay, so they're telling us basically what they told us last time, that they have a stream of threats, they have specific information, they have it, so it's going to happen. Doesn't take a genius to see this. Again, I'm not don't need a crystal ball for this one. I believe that in just within a matter of a day or two, we will see another thing again. Within a day or two, we'll see. Now it's the 30th of August, so probably September 1st or something.
Technically, we're out now.
Oh, yeah. So, well, no, the deadline was on the 31st, right?
Yeah, but we pulled out.
But do we have everybody?
Of course not. But we pulled out. We have nothing left. Or we're not doing anything else. We're out.
Oh, would you have that drum sound? You said we have nothing left there, right? Except for 75,000 vehicles, 600,000 small arms, $85 billion worth of stuff, 200 planes, enough Blackhawks to beat most countries in a Black Hawk competition. Night vision, medical supplies. Yep, just let's fully arm them right before the anniversary of their T attack. According to the media reports, the U.S. plans to finish the withdrawal from Afghanistan on 31st of August, despite earlier mulling to stay as long as needed to evacuate all eligible persons. The same report suggested that Washington had already evacuated all Afghan employees of the now closed embassy in Kabul. Wow. April Sheldon, thank you again. I appreciate that. So what do you think? Do you think what percentage of people do you think are still left there? I'd love to get your view on that. And then the last U.S. military planes have left Afghanistan, marking the end of the United States' longest conflict. It says the last U.S. military planes left Afghanistan. Oh, except for the 200 we left there. Commander of U.S. Central Command General Frank McKenzie announced Monday at the Pentagon. The U.S. departure marks the end of a fraught, chaotic, and bloody exit from the United States' longest war. It says the departure marks the first time in nearly 2 decades that the U.S. and its allies have not had troops on the ground in Afghanistan. And after $2 trillion in spending and nearly 2,000 U.S. troops killed in action, the pullout raises questions about the utility of a conflict that saw the service, of course, of parents and their own grown children. It says a senior State Department official said Monday that the State Department will not have civilians on the ground once the U.S. military leaves Afghanistan. It says, quote, "We are not going to have civilians on the ground once the military has left," they said. So they are basically saying when the military leaves, they're not going to have anybody left on that list. Do you believe that? Do you believe they have everybody out? Yes or no? Put it in the chat. How many of you think they got out everybody already?
Well, if you remember the numbers going into this, the numbers were anywhere from 10, 20, 15, 5, 30,000 U.S. citizens were there, right? We've heard that number bounce all over the place, but we all can pretty much assume it was a significant number. They did admit that they lifted 122,000 people out, but they said only 5,400, maybe a little closer to 6,000, were actually Americans. So that's a pretty small number compared to the numbers that we'd heard were actually there. And then they later said, yeah, we do acknowledge the fact that there are people still there, and we're just going to have to use diplomatic means of getting them out. So what, we're going to negotiate with this new T group? Is that what we do now?
Apparently. And so that huge number that you just said, so are you saying that there's What was that big number that you said?
They said as of Monday, more than 122,000 people have been airlifted from the airport since July, and that includes 5,400 Americans. So, by the way, that's not just now. That's the whole time since July. But in that whole time, it's only 5,400
since
Americans.
July, that's 1 month ago. That's in a month. We have added over 100,000 Afghan people to our country's population, right? And what's crazy, just hypothetically, if you did say, like, this all looks kind of weird, they armed people, and then they're actually giving direct rides from Afghanistan to the United States, which we have already talked to people on the phone, like the woman in Indiana that said they watched busfuls. In fact, they watched so many busfuls come in, and they turned one of the facilities there into a place for all of them. She said that they now outnumbered the actual population in the town. So the population of the town not only, was outnumbered all of a sudden, just out of nowhere, but it might have been doubled or tripled by, somebody from outside this country. Then we read that they were getting placed all over LA, Florida. If you remember, I think even some in your state, Dex, in Georgia. So
yep,
they're dispersing people that we just straight up picked out of a place that is flooded with Al-Qaeda, flooded all over the place. It's not like you can kill an ideology. You can't take that out. And now they are here. So I'm not I'm not saying that 115,000 of them are that, but what are the odds that a good percentage of those, or maybe even the same percentage of that number that's Americans, 5,000, or even what would you think if there was even 500? What if there was 100? How many people did it supposedly take to do September of 11th? Like 40, 50 people or something? 30, whatever it was? How many people did it take to do some of the stuff that's happened here? Take down whole buildings. How many people did it take to do Boston? How many people did it take to do, how many jets and military operations did it take to do Las Vegas? Anyways, you guys get it. And then the Taliban appear to fly U.S. Black Hawk helicopters over Kandahar. It's not by the way, when they say appear, it is. They are flying Black Hawks helicopters, and there's tons of video of it now. Now, whether that's propaganda or something, I don't know. But I do know that there are so many different angles, so many different areas. It's not just Kandahar. They have Black Hawks, and they're training a ton of people to fly them, which is insane to me. That they have, I knew that they had, the first thing that they said was that they had more Black Hawks than Australia. They have more Black Hawks than 85% of the countries in the world. Now, these Black Hawks are extremely dangerous, especially some of you're talking about a military chopper that is extremely, extremely important in so many different kinds of operations. Dangerous machines. It says the Taliban, by some estimates, has more Black Hawk helicopters than 85% of the world after the U.S. abandoned $85 billion worth of military equipment. Unverified footage is released by a Twitter account, Talib Times, which claims to be the official news handle of the Islamic Emirate Afghanistan, shows a man hanging from a UH-60 Black Hawk a day before the U.S. withdrawals from the country. It says our Air Force at this time, the Islamic Emirates Air Force helicopters, are flying over Kandahar city and patrolling the city. It just comes days after another video showed Taliban seemingly test driving the captured Black Hawk helicopters over the ground at Kandahar Airport in southeastern Afghanistan. That 60-second video described the chopper as being captured by Afghan security forces. And we have not done anything to this day yet to get any of this stuff back. How stupid is this?
Yeah. So, and if you guys want to see, and we're not showing it here, but the part of this that's going to be in web only is the actual images and some of the stuff. And as it was mentioned in the article, it's kind of interesting as a lot of the mainstream news is covering this and just saying they're flying Blackhawks. Some of them are saying what was hanging from it, and some of them are not. But they all seem to show the same picture, even if they don't mention the fact that something's hanging. But what is actually happening there is, in a sense, it's a gallows pole, and they're doing it to, as a form of what they're doing to people that they're now I guess claim to be their enemies, right? Whether it's Americans or those who helped America.
Oh my gosh. So yeah, this isn't like if this is what we think it is, this isn't somebody training. This isn't, an Arnold Schwarzenegger dropping onto the roof. This isn't somebody doing a rescue. This is something else. Now, that is where, that's actually the thing that almost triggers me to say that this could be propaganda. It could be a mannequin, or it could be something else. I don't know. But yeah. It says the Taliban using this is the kind of stuff that they would do too. So again, I hope that people are praying for those that are still over there and are on that list, because now they have all of their information. Oh, by the way, so there was a few down here. There's definitely doubts, right? So if you have your doubts, it says if that rope was around his, he wouldn't be waving his feet. 2, his would have snapped and he would have been detated, right? You have no idea when that was taken or who is flying the chopper. I don't know, because that is a Black Hawk and somebody's below it. So what do you think? Do you think real or fake? That looks a lot like that could be. I mean, that could be the place that just had that could be Haiti. Look at the building all dilapidated. Who knows? That could be a rescue operation from Haiti. Think about that. All right, and then let's see here. It says, Pentagon acknowledges reports of civilian casualties in U.S. airstrike in Kabul. Basically, they are admitting that they didn't just hit the target. It says U.S. military officials are acknowledging reports of civilian casualties as a result of a drone strike on an explosives-laden vehicle carrying a would-be suicide bomber in Kabul over the weekend. It says, we know that there were substantial and powerful subsequent explosions resulting from the destruction of the vehicle, indicating a large amount of explosive material inside of that vehicle that may have caused additional casualties. It is further unclear what may have happened, and we are investigating further. So they're saying that this thing was already loaded with boom booms, and that this is a good way for them to say, well, we took it out, but because they had all of this explosives, those explosives are actually what took out everybody around them. So if they were driving down a street, say, with 200 citizens, and they were right there, boom, those go, but then they go, oh, well, it was their fault because they were, had these things loaded full of, explosives. Really, really crazy stuff. Delaware Sasquatch says government stating now all equipment was rendered useless for combat. Are you kidding me? Cough, cough. Dex, can you find an article that talks about what Delaware Sasquatch just said? So they're saying was rendered useless for combat. I don't know how they could possibly do that. How could they render an AK useless for combat? That doesn't make any sense. Unless they had fingerprint sensors that prevented them from, firing or something. That's pretty dumb. And then Russian cosmonauts find new cracks in the ISS module. Huh. It says Russian cosmonauts have discovered new cracks in a segment of the International Space Station that could widen, a senior space official said on Monday, the latest in a series of setbacks. It says, quote, superficial fissures have been found in some places on the Zarya module. Vladimir Zololev, chief engineer of Rocket and Space Corporation Energia, told RIA news agency. This is bad and suggests that the fissures will begin to spread over time. He did not say if the cracks had caused any air to leak. The space official has said previously that much of the International Space Station's equipment is starting to age and has been warned that it could be an avalanche of broken equipment after 2025. Dex, it's so weird that all of these different things all point to 2025. It's just weird. So you're saying it could be an avalanche, and it could be one of those situations that we've talked about where it's a domino effect and all this stuff spiraling into our atmosphere in 2025.
Yeah, and is it also not weird that Russia is the one reporting this?
Why not us?
Yeah, well, and they're the ones that had the problem, and then there's this whole finger pointing game that's starting between NASA and Russia over should they be part of our program or not. And of course, China's busy building the largest spacecraft in space and expanding their own.
Well, outside the world.
Yeah, outside the world, and expanding their own space station to be significantly bigger than the one that's up there now. So yeah.
If you didn't watch the other show that we talked about, they're building miles across a structure in space that will be unequaled. That's what China is doing right now, and they're trying to hurry it along. Why do they need some multiple miles across structure in space? And why did they make a artificial sun? Why did they make an artificial moon? It's like, are they making a, what do you call it? Are they making a new planet? Who knows?
Or is it like, what's that movie, Elysium?
Yeah, where they make the ring. Matt Damon. Trippy movie. If you haven't seen Elysium, that's a pretty good one. A record-breaking 44 container ships are stuck off the coast of California. Of course, we haven't even hit this yet. 44 freight ships are stuck and awaiting entry into California's two largest ports, the highest number recorded since the beginning of the pandemic. And it says a Marine Exchange of Southern California reported Saturday. The lengthy queue is a result of the labor shortage, CV-19 related disruptions, and holiday buying surges, according to LA port data. The ship's average wait time is increased to 7.6 days. I'm sorry, but somebody not showing up for work, or even 10 people, or say if there's 20 people that are supposed to work and there's only one guy doing the job of 20 or something, I don't see how that puts us back this far. 45 ships, I mean, do you see that as making sense? You guys can answer me. Do you think that it just seems like something is wrong here? I just don't know what it is. If you can put your finger on it, let us know, because I'm sure there's plenty of you that are much smarter than I am. Just so many weird things happening all at once. Machina Opus says, better to have questions that can't be answered than answers that can't be questioned. I love that one, by the way. Again, Hall of Famer there, Alex Gallegos. Thank you for the other show popping in there. And it looks like we have EOD Vet says military equipment at the Kabul airport was rendered non-mission capable. That's not hard to do. The rest of the Afghani U.S. Army equipment is good. Yeah, that's what it... Yeah, okay. Okay, so that makes sense. So just the stuff that they left as they were bouncing out of the airport, that is not good. But the other $85 billion worth of gear is. Jesus Christ is coming soon. Keep looking up, says Rhea. Thank you for your support. I appreciate that. Delaware Sasquatch says government stating that all of that was. I would understand that. Blessings to the Marfoogle family, says Jordan Bracia or Bracia. Thank you so much. If I said that wrong, I apologize. Thank you for sticking around with us for a long time now. Survival Living, for a quick answer, nuclear plant can generate operational power If that failed, generator backup with larger backup battery bank backup, but eventual. So survival living. Thank you. And if you guys haven't checked out Central Florida Prepper, he is putting a lot of effort into his channel. His channel's getting bigger every time I check. And then Paul Winkler, thank you so much for your support. Global Witness popped in and I missed him. All this work is not easy and much needed going forward. Please follow suit and send some cash. Oh, you don't have to do that, but thank you so much. Global Witness, I appreciate you. I still have not made it to a live. I apologize. I saw you were doing calls, and I that would be a good one for me to call in. I would love to speak with you. And then Brent Stankovich, I missed you as well. That is a huge super sticker. Thank you so much, Brent. I can't say thank you enough. Brent Stankovich, I really, really appreciate that. Me Peppa 007 says, love the show with all the craziness going on. What are they trying to distract us from? That's exactly right. Andrea Ellison, again, thank you. Bound by Mountains. Lily Penaflor, again, says, trust the Lord. He never stops working. Total Vagabonds, it was so awesome to see you again. And then Machina Opus, again, thank you. Nuclear watchdog sounds warning over the restart of NK reactor. Dex, what do you think is really going on with this? Do you think that they have a actual quality system there?
Yeah, we know they have it. We know that they've tested it. A lot of people have said, "Oh, don't worry, it's low yield." Well, do worry, because just because it's low yield and what they tested, that's exactly what you would need for, an electromagnetic pulse, right? So they actually have it. I think what they're doing is expanding, and what we had done, and we had worked hard in the last 4 years, was to get them to back off of this. And now I think the world sort of looks and says, "Hey, it's fair game. We can all do what we want to do," And so Kim's turning back on the power generation, and that will in turn turn on the research on the reactor.
Again, this is exactly what Dex just said. All of these other countries are seeing what most consider weak. Even other presidents are saying that America looks really, really weak right now, that we won't do anything, that we're back down. Some people may think that that's not true, but think about it. These are huge decisions. When we had our last prez, some called some of his stuff pretty crazy, but there was one thing for sure. He would do the stuff that, he didn't think twice about doing some crazy stuff. Again, neither did the president before him even. Kind of polar opposites, but both of them, they held strong. And same with Bush before that. So they actually, a lot of things they would just go like this. But in the last year, this president has been really kind of lax, kind of almost asleep. Since early July, there have been indications consistent with the operation of a nuclear reactor at Yongbyon. The International Atomic Energy Agency said in a report, calling signs that the reactor could have been restarted is deeply troubling. Now, remember, if you haven't seen the video, Dex, can we attach the video of the information from Peter Pry and the EMP task force? There was a reason why we did that.
Yes.
Again, we got that the actual piece done by the chair of the EMP task force, and we gave you the information on that. They believe NK is much more of a threat than they are saying, and they're not putting out public. That's why I say pay attention to the stuff that's being quietly talked about by the government, not the stuff that's being pushed on you through all social medias, through everywhere. They are actually extremely worried about AEMP. They are hardening all of their own stuff. They're warning. They already warned you about it. They already told America to have 6 months to a year worth of food, and food and water, because they knew that what their plans were. Everybody that thought those tests by NK were failures, there was a reason why they were such low yield. That is for a very specific reason, and they perfected it. At that time when they called them failures, we didn't know. We ended up finding out later that Russia somehow transferred the plans for EMP over to them. So they weren't testing it out. They were actually trying to... Is it going to start a second stream?
It looks like it's coming back right now. I'll let you know if it recovers.
Obviously, they don't want us talking about that.
And it recovered, and it looks like it didn't start a second stream.
Oh, that's lucky. Okay, let's move on. Okay.
Since that topic was so sensitive, I did link the video on our website, so you guys go there and check it out.
Okay, and then China limits... Okay, so we are live. Okay, China limits children to 3 hours of online gaming per week. Yeah. And they limit them to 1 child per family. But so I guess that's really reducing it, right? China is banning children from playing online games for more than 3 hours a week. The harshest restriction so far on the game industry as Chinese regulators continue cracking down on the technology sector. Minors in China can only play games between 8 p.m. and 9 p.m. on Fridays. Wait a second. So they actually had... I knew that they did this thing, but they actually gave them a specific time as well. Okay, so remember, Dex, when they said that they couldn't communicate via... when all the CV thing was starting... they cut out the kind of Call of Duty, people talking online, people, using headsets with Xbox.
All the games that have chat and voice and stuff, yeah.
They cut that off so people could not communicate outside of China. Now they are actually limiting it even more, and they're doing it in a specific time. It sounds to me like they're monitoring that time period. So they're only letting them use this time period to play, and while they're playing, probably because they can staff it and listen to every word that's going in and out. Am I totally off here? Maybe do you guys think?
No, I think you're right. I think that makes sense to me, is to narrow it down so they can have a team listen in to what they need to listen for.
So that says to me that China is really worried about what is going out of the country. That something is going on, and maybe they do not want anything exiting that country of what they are doing. Remember those 90 nuclear scientists that ended up all resigning in the same day? Out of 200 scientists, their R&D, their rocket scientists, their actual rocket scientists, all resigned on the same day. 90 of them. That puts a target on their back. That makes them they're basically throwing away their career. What did they do that for? I think that they didn't want blood on their hands. There were several countries that covered this, including, I want to say, Australia, and I also want to say Norway covered it. But a lot of these countries didn't. And what I want to say Norway or Australia said is they said the same thing. What was so bad that they didn't want the blood on their hands of that China was telling them? That it was coming down the pipeline like, hey, you need to make this, we're going to do this, or we're going to do that, we need a way to do it. And they were all like, nope, we're not playing any part of that. What I'm saying is I believe these things are all connected as far as China wants to be able to staff every single audio file that's going out of China. They do not want... There's something that China does not want to get out. There is something that they don't want China to communicate. Something big is way bigger than what we're seeing on the news. We're being pushed this stuff on the news. And remember, everybody now is against President B now. That's weird. Sorry. He could do no wrong, and then all of a sudden everybody's turned on him. Something is weird is going on. Brian, sorry, there's the weirdest plane sound above me. Wait. Hear that? That is so weird. Big one. Minors in China can only play this from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. on Fridays, weekends, and on public holidays starting September 1st, according to a notice from the National Press and Public Administration. Imagine that. You have your kids in your house, and, you can literally only let them play games 1 hour a week by the government's rules. Talk about Talk about, invasion of control. Like, they literally control you there. That is incredible. Wow, I didn't realize in 2019 they allowed minors to play games for an hour and a half per day and 3 hours on public holidays. Do you want to live in a communist country? A lot of people say that they now support what leads to it. They actually support it. They're tweeting, they're putting profiles on their Facebook pictures. They don't realize that they're supporting the baby steps to it. And then the Earth Foundation working with Chinese government to promote Beijing's global medical clout. Okay, just this title alone here should have people spinning in their head. This is technically an enemy. We have whole task force basically telling us we are about to go to conflict with them. And then you have the same person that is playing with all of the stuff that is going on right now, somebody who is buying companies to control the stuff that is going on right now that is being forced. At the same exact time, you have them working with, it's like, flip open your eyeballs. Dex, when you saw this, did your eyes roll in your head?
They did. I was, like you said, just completely flabbergasted. Yeah. It's not surprising on one hand. It's like, okay, well, yeah, evil and evil. But on the same time, it's like, come on, this is just absolutely ridiculous.
Just absolutely nuts. Think about that. And he's now playing a part in pretty much everything. They're interviewing him for advice on what's going on. I mean, does anybody see this? Michelle K says, how loud are those micro drones, Marf? I wouldn't think you would hear those. If any plane or like helicopter doesn't want to be heard, they don't have to. When they go into chopper mode, they can really be loud. It puts fear into their enemies. Puts fear into their enemies. But yeah, I wouldn't. If somebody was spying on me from a drone or something, I wouldn't hear it. You wouldn't hear it either. Stormy Weather says, hey, popping in to say love to Adam, Dex, and Mods and Foogle fam. Thank you, Stormy Weather, for popping in. Again, you've been on that leaderboard many, many, many times. I appreciate you so much. Again, put a Stormy in the chat for Stormy. Let's say Bling and Grammy says praying for everyone too stupid not to be planned. Kelly2334, again, another person. Awesome, amazing Foogle fam. Again, Tribulation Force, Lisa K23, KY Mountain says military order to remove Chinese chips in gear. Military order to remove Chinese chips in gear. I mean, how obvious it is that we're trying to separate completely. Well, the same person that's running this whole operation that, every media, every company is all pushing, everybody's doing forced rules around it, and yet that person is literally working with the enemy. It's like, there's a reason why they say Beijing. Yeah. Sherry B just followed. Thank you. Derail. We've got Cynthia Lynn. Thank you for gifting a subscription to Poco Loco. And then Scooby-Doo Right and Delaware Sasquatch again. Thank you. Says they left dozens of service dogs at the airport. Appreciate you popping in both places. Thank you. That is pretty nuts. Why would they do that? Miss Jackson says we already left Kabul and left many people behind. They said that they weren't going to leave any service members, but I'm sure there's thousands. Left armory people, service dogs too. Wow. Miss Jackson's, there were 11 CMEs that hit Earth over the last day. Oddly enough, there's going to be a lot more. Mullen, a plant is great for lungs. Lisa, hey, thank you for the suggestions. It comes and goes. It's not asthma. It's weird. Tribulation Force, thank you. Kelly2334 again. Telebama Kabosku, thank you so much. We have some stuff here. I mean, look at this. The documents recently released from the U.S.-based National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, or NIAID, under Dr. A.F., were obtained by the American activist group Judicial Watch. It said the emails contain 5th of September 2017 report by Ping Chen, at a representative in China, who told her colleagues that she attended a G Foundation meeting that initially planned to talk about global malaria eradication efforts. Dex, the connections are scary.
Oh yeah, and even what else they talked about. It's just crazy. This is, this rabbit hole. You guys can go down as far as you want, as far to one side, to the other side, up, down, and all around. It's full of information. Not just this article, but this whole idea of what's been going on there and around this topic, especially with Gilly.
So Gilly, and then remember this whole connection goes through NIAID, which is also just so happens to be the doctor and the one that he said he did not fund, but then they ended up finding out through this he did, because he was the head of it, and that funded the LAB in a certain city where a lot of things all came back to. That theory that people got deleted for, and then a year later they were like, oh yeah, it kind of does make sense. Oh, and we got security footage. Oh, and they closed down because of a weird thing. And well, do some research. You'll see this is all, I don't know how people are still like, emergency response says Department of Defense has taken over the shipment crash that shuttered airspace. Okay, Dex, this is probably the most insane thing ever. This is our main story because what in the actual hell is going on? So, first of all, I learned this from Tim Pool. I'll give him credit for this. He was very fast putting this out, and I'm sure he got it from somewhere, but it's actually from his website. He got information from, he again is on all sorts of news agencies. He goes on as a special guest on all of the news. If you haven't heard Tim Pool, he actually used to be very far left. He used to work for different, left-leaning magazines, and then he ended up being more middle and basically looking at the hypocrisy on both sides. Now people even almost consider him more right-leaning, even though he is technically, somebody who's on the left, right? He put this out here, and he's got a very popular podcast. Again, it says the West Virginia Center for Preparedness has confirmed to Timcast that the Department of Defense has taken over the case of a truck carrying the V's that crashed near a waterway off of Interstate 79. The Center for Threat Preparedness was in charge of trying to recover the V, but they are no longer permitted to speak to the press about the incident. Instead, they referred us to the National CV Response Press Secretary at the U.S. Department of Health and Services. It says, as Timcast previously reported, air traffic was shut down. Well, hazmat cleaning crews spent 21 hours in the area near Morgantown. The northbound side of the interstate was also closed for traffic. So this truck crashes with a bunch of the V's inside. Not only do they come and respond in hazmat, but they closed down the airspace. Dex,
they turned it over to the DOD.
And turned it over to the Department of Defense.
What is the DOD doing cleaning up an accident on the interstate? I mean, accidents on the interstate happen all the time, even with hazardous stuff.
Borna Hawkeye says biospill. I don't know. You guys tell me. Why would the DOD hazmat? But why would the airspace? This is specific stuff inside of this truck. It's not. Is there, there's no information that says that there was anything like vile in there, like bad, just the V's. Are these, when they are put together, so say if the liquid was all combined, so say if you poured it out or squirted them all into a big barrel of something, would that barrel of something be toxic? And by the way, I'm not saying that anybody shouldn't, but what I'm saying is specifically about this. What was the response for? Why was the response the way it was? Why did they close down airspace? Do they not want, like Dex said before the show, do they not want somebody from another country getting a hold of ours? Like our design? I don't know.
Yeah, maybe it was just to keep the drones out, in the sense of they didn't want anybody to see what they were actually doing. And maybe this whole thing is just a big cover-up because it's something else, right? And we'll find out, or we'll never find out. We may find out from our sources, but we may never really find the truth out in the public.
By the way, if you have information that you do not want public and you want to share with us privately, we have taken information over time, and we always keep our promise. If you do not want it public, sometimes that private information helps us look at what else is going on, and it can help. Say we won't pass along that information, but again, it might help us figure out other stuff. You can also do that. The Tennessee thing that went down, we had information. We actually reached out to Dex. Who did we reach out for the Tennessee, the big boom with the RV? Who did we reach out to again? The whistleblower guy. I don't know why I'm brain farting right now.
Oh, you mean the people who
but
Project Veritas.
Project Veritas. But Project Veritas wanted video of what we had, which we didn't have. We just had the information. They actually will not go out and do something unless you have video. They really want, like, well, can you sit at a lunch table and put a camera underneath? That was their thing, which is they do awesome work. But their main thing is that they need to get you like at lunch with somebody with a videotape of them saying it. We had information that was mind-blowing about that event that we can't say because it's dangerous, like dangerous. So it helped us figure out what's going on now. And I'm telling you what, I hope that people put faith in just the thought that they need to have preps and just be responsible. I always say that because, it's true. Uper Viking, all the prayer warriors out there, please pray for protection over this stream. He hasn't been wrong this entire time. Oh, thank you, Uper Viking. I appreciate that. Monique Perry, thank you so much for subscribing. Dr. BCR fan, thank you so much. Joe Citizen, thank you. Brian William Thomas Whalen, thank you for subscribing. For Human People, thank you for subscribing. And then I saw a Red-Handed Music Group, thank you for subscribing. I feel like I've seen that somewhere. Thank you so much, everybody that came in tonight. Dex, can you tell us about the web only after I shout out a couple people? In fact, there's people that went over to PayPal during the show. Bass Grime Records, thank you, 1776 donation, which is awesome. Again, thank you. Says from Nappy Soldier, love you both, Marf and Dex. William M., thank you so much for your support over there. Lisa O., thank you for your PayPal. Great story for tonight's show. Sorry for saying the face diaper word last week. Well, now I said it. I get it. Yeah. Big Hair Tsunami says, in honor of my lovely friend Trinity Red Pill, Blue Pill, Hi-Ho Kermit the Frog. Again, I'll make sure that Trinity knows, if she's not in the chat already, that you had to do that. JNC Bakery, thank you so much for your support as well. Thank you to the businesses that actually support our show too. I know there's many small businesses. There's tire shops in the Foogle fam. There's for instance, there's somebody who owns a grocery store. There's somebody who owns a restaurant. I'm sure there's many restaurant owners here. Thank you guys. It doesn't, all walks of life are looking at this stuff and saying, what is wrong here? So this is a group effort. It takes all of your support and all of your information to make this run. So thank you so much. Dex, what is in the web only content?
Wow. So if you head over to marfooglenews.com and you click on the thumbnail for the show, all you got to do is scroll down till you find this title that says web-only content. And here you will find everything else that's not on the show, either stuff we couldn't cover, maybe it's copyrighted, or maybe it's one-sided or it's too far one way or the other or opinionated. But what we have here is very funny. It's amazing. The linemen in New Orleans and other places were trolling the Weather Channel. So you get there's all these great collection of videos out there where the weatherman is leaning into the wind, and then there comes a lineman running out behind him doing backflips or smiling and waving at the camera. It's pretty funny. You got to check that out. Some stuff with the administration, obviously was pressed for time at an event that you might not want to be pressed for time at. You'll have to go take a look at that yourself. Lots of things going on with the bean counters, a little bit of update in AZ, as well as some stuff here in my state, and then plenty of other things going on around Dr. F, as we mentioned earlier. So head over to marfooglenews.com, click on the thumbnail for this show, scroll down to web-only content, and pick up an entire show's worth of content that we couldn't talk about tonight.
Again, while they're talking about the slain troops, somebody had another appointment to go to. Oh, when is this over? I have my nap in 35 minutes. Okay, well, thank you, everybody. I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you for the massive support over on DLive tonight. Again, we're going to be doing a DLive only show. We're still trying to work that out. Military order again. Thank you. KY Mountain. Thank you, Bear Claws. Be free. I appreciate you. Stormy weather. Thank you, and thank you. Kelly2334, I appreciate all of you. Gone Girl 777, Susan Donahue, thank you, everybody. Amy R. Of course, we've got Veteran Steve out there. Thank you so much. I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you for the Foogle fam being amazing people. Much love. Again, be safe, be prepared, and Marf out. Dex, much love, be safe, all right?
Much love, brother. Great show.
It's time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout out. It's a shoutro.
Red-headed on the music road, Jessica Lozada and Mission 2. Midwest on the mini homestead, Alex got leg. Also, I gotta bring the boat, a corrupt priest and the A-Rob me. I see a effing disaster. Joe, my impact on the bastard. I'm gonna go past ya, out to pasture. That old man sleeping can't take care of us. Oh, yeah. Providing, letting data, lose 700 million in the way. Oh, now, gonna bring it back down in my toe. Gonna be it on, drip it off, Dr. F. Please for the increased beat on race, and I know I see no J, A, B in me. Whoa. Can it crowd her all hour? Can it crowd her all hour? Can it crowd her all hour? April Sheldon, Aliwello. 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 I don't go home until I see the candy and set, Lord. rest on them. Bought one in the midst of bed. Hey now with the chef Bro Dupree. I think I'm harsh in the midst of sea. Yabba dabba and a youthful vice. Hey,